At the very end of 2018, I drove my very first Volvo. That was an S90, the sedan version of this car. And since then, I've always wanted to drive their largest wagon on the market. And finally, after many, many years, I've got one here. And not only that, it's brown. This is essentially the best color you could get for a wagon. I'm Niall, this is Test Drive, and let's get on with it. Behind the wheel now of the 2024 Volvo V90 Cross Country. This is the ultimate trim. So there's a couple different trims available for this vehicle, this being the top end, and it also has a number of options to bring that price up a little bit as well. We've got $1,475 for the rims. They're 21-inch 7-spoke diamond cut aluminum rims, look pretty good. We've got the 19-speaker Bowers & Wilkins audio system, also sounds great. We've also got the 4C adaptive suspension. In Canada, it's called the Air Ride with rear self-leveling. So you've got pretty much all the major features. The only thing you could have really added to this would be like the privacy shade in the back and booster seats. That's pretty much it. Everything else is optioned off on this car. Now, if you want to know absolutely everything there is to know about this current generation of Volvo, take a look at any of the recent videos we've done. James drove the XC60. I believe that was a plug-in. And then I also did the V60 Cross Country. That was 2019. So they've changed the interior slightly, but it's more or less the same car. Volvo hasn't changed too much. And realistically, this is the same as the 22s, 23s really for the V90, because it's when they updated the infotainment. But 2024 carryover model year, nothing's changed. Everything's all the same. But you know, the big standout feature is the Google built-in infotainment system. We've talked about it before. I think it does work a little bit better than Volvo's old infotainment system. It's still not the best though. It's still not a great operating system. It works fine. I just feel that, you know, some manufacturers have done a much better job when it comes to using Android Automotive when it comes to their infotainment systems. This one's okay, but it works, you know. Wired Apple CarPlay, for example. I would plug that in if I really needed it, but I do like being able to just sign in on my Google Maps account, and then that way I've got access to everything I need. Personally, I try to avoid Apple CarPlay just for filming purposes, because I film everything on my iPhone. It can kind of cause some problems. So if I don't have to use it, it's a good day for me. But that's the big standout feature there. You know, you got all the other features that you would expect it to have at this price point. 360 cameras, head-up display, digital gauge cluster. Not a ton of information in there, but gets the job done. Seating space is pretty good. You know, I'm quite comfortable here. Volvo seats are a little bit more on the firm side, but they are supportive. I did find I was a little tired after driving home with this thing initially, but I'd also spent quite a bit of time driving too big up, so that could be part of it as well. So overall, good amount of space in here. Obviously bigger vehicle than the V60 that we drove before. A lot more rear seat space, a lot more trunk space. Those are going to be the key features why you'd be going over this over one of the smaller ones. But the real question is, why would you take this over the crossovers, right? Because this is technically, this is what I feel the true definition of a crossover is. This is a car, right, a station wagon that has a slightly higher ground clearance, a little bit more off-road oriented with the fender flares that are kind of out a little bit and unpainted. So this really is a crossover between an SUV and a car. But every other SUV is really a crossover. It's not a true SUV. So this is the most literal in terms of what a crossover is or should be. And I do like it. I mean, you know, it is comfortable enough. I find that getting in and out, not bad. There's a big hump to get in through the door, the bottom there, the lip to get in is quite large, but that's what you're getting, right? You're getting sort of a crossover-esque experience with the ride and drive that comes with the car. And really, I mean, I've been driving along with this. You know, it is slightly higher up than any other sedan you're going to drive, but it is just a little bit lower than an SUV. So you're getting almost right in the middle there, and I like it. I mean, would I buy this over an XC90, for example? Probably. I mean, I do like it. I like the wagon shape. I do like that it is, you know, station wagon. Plus it is brown. I mean, who doesn't like a brown station wagon? This is pretty much the perfect color combination. Brown on the outside, brown on the inside. I like it quite a bit. Actually, they call the interior here amber perforated leather with ventilation. So I mean, you got heated and ventilated front seats, heated steering wheel, heated rear seats, quad zone climate control, all the good stuff. I mean, you know, really the only thing I'd say would be missing at this price point would be a digital rear view mirror. We're starting to see that from a lot more brands now. General Motors with Cadillac was pretty much the first that we saw with a digital rear view mirror, but now everybody's got one. We just drove a Jeep last week that's got it. Nissan's got them. Kia and Hyundai are starting to come out with them. Everybody's starting to get them. So it would be nice if Volvo had that, but they are a little bit more on the conservative side of things. Volvo does take things a little slower than the competition, and that's fine. That's why we haven't seen any real dramatic model year changes really since we've started featuring these vehicles. Back in 2018 was the first time we drove a Volvo, and they've more or less remained unchanged, and that's okay because it works for Volvo. This is a good vehicle. Is it a volume seller for them here in Canada? Absolutely not. That's why you can't buy a regular V90 anymore. You can only get the Cross Country. So this is going to compete really. I mean, the only thing I can think of on the top of my head would be the Mercedes E450 all-terrain. BMW doesn't make a 5 Series wagon here in Canada. It has been decades since that was offered. That's about it. I mean, Audi A6 all-road, so there's not too much. I mean, like, if you're looking at this kind of price point, you want something a little bit different, you do like Volvo, and I mean, the safety is there. All the safety tech works exactly as you would expect it to. All the enhanced safety features, or adaptive cruise control, lean, keep, blind spot, all that has been working extremely well for me over the time that I have been driving this, so no complaints there. There really aren't any complaints about this vehicle. It just doesn't really stand out. There isn't a standout feature aside from being safe and moderately efficient. We finished off our 100 kilometer test loop in this vehicle at 8 liters per 100 kilometers, US miles per gallon in the lower third below, which, yeah, I mean, until we get more things to compare it to, isn't too bad overall. You're kind of looking at compact to mid-size crossover SUV territory. You know, the mild hybrid system on this is functional. You know, it has a 2-liter twin-charged engine, so it's both supercharged and turbocharged, with the 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive. So, I mean, you're getting all the stuff that you really would need out of it, and so far these engines have been working. You know, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, what's the long-term reliability going to be like? Well, I had a friend who had a Volvo XC90 with the twin-charged engine, and I think he finished off, before he sold it, with like 265,000 kilometers, and as far as I know, there weren't any major problems with it. But the engine does go. Give it full throttle. Hey, it's not a sports vehicle. You go with a Polestar trim, you want to get all the performance, or you get a P8, which is the plug-in hybrid. But, you know, for what you need out of it, it is pretty good. If you loaded this thing up with a couple extra people and some gear in the back, I don't see any problems with it. I think it would get the job done quite well. So I'm pretty happy with this vehicle overall. I mean, it's exactly what I expected. This was really the last infinity stone of Volvo vehicles I needed to drive, at least of the core vehicles that I needed to drive. I've driven everything else. I drove the S90 originally. I really liked it. And I said that I'm sure the V90 would be just as good, if not better. And yeah, I do like it. I mean, this is a lot more functional. If I were in the market for it, I would absolutely get this over the S90 just because I like the extra space that you get in the back. It's huge. I mean, there is an ample amount of space, and I don't really do a whole lot with it, so that would almost be the only downside, is there's too much space. Everything's going to be flying around in the back. But aside from that, though, everything that you would want out of a Volvo comes very well equipped on this V90 Ultimate. So good job, Volvo. It's as we expect. We're hoping in the future we're going to be seeing a little bit more. You know, I mean, like an electrified version of this would be pretty cool. But right now, electric's not too trendy. Everybody hates them, so let's stick with the mild hybrid system. But I think that'll be our video here. As I mentioned, if you want to know a little bit more about these Volvo vehicles, I do recommend taking a look at essentially any of the older videos we've done on any Volvo vehicle. It's going to be pretty similar to this, so I would recommend taking a look at those. We'll have 2 of them linked at the end of this video. But as always, we appreciate you watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, I do invite you to do so. Give a thumbs up to the video if you liked it. Share it with your friends as well, as all of that helps us build our channel, build our community here as we roll in our 8th year of test drive. That will be happening next month. We'll have finished 8 full years of this show, and we celebrated 14 years at PRN back in July. So thanks for everybody for watching. Thanks for checking out this video, and until next time, take care.